Today is Tuesday, Parashat Mishpatim. A lot of mitzvot in this parasha. Amongst them is Lo devashel gedi b'halev imo, the mitzvah of not cooking meat and milk together, because actually it's not just not eating milk and meat together. The pasuk says Lo devashel gedi b'halev imo, meaning about cooking the meat and milk together. But since it's mentioned 3 times in the Torah, we're not allowed to eat it, we're not allowed to cook it, and we're not allowed to benefit from it. Even if you were not to eat the cheeseburger or not to cook it, just to sell it and make a profit from it, to benefit from it, or to give it even as a gift, where the other person would be obligated to return a favor, would be also forbidden. But many other mitzvot, one of the mitzvot in the parasha of this week is the mitzvah to give a loan to somebody who's in need. Somebody who's in need of financial assistance. There's a mitzvah, of course, to give charity, but one of the higher forms of charity is to give a loan. And when you give a loan, you preserve the honor of that person, his self-respect, because after all, he's not being just supported by another person. It's a loan that he'll pay in time. However, you cannot charge interest to a fellow Jew on a loan that you would give him. And that's a very important mitzvah to follow, because not just it will be a transgression of the mitzvah of the Torah, but even there is a financial loss that could occur to the person. In the Gemara it says that a person who charges interest, that interest that he thinks he benefits from it, when it gets mixed with his other funds, he can destroy the rest of his assets. It sort of crumbles the rest of the assets. It's like as a rotten fish in a container of fish. It causes the others to be rotten also. So that is a mitzvah to be very careful with, not to charge interest to a fellow Jew. Giving a loan is a mitzvah, but not charging interest would make that mitzvah actually a transgression. And the idea is sometimes there are situations where you can be a partner in a business transaction, where it's not a loan that you're given, but rather an investment in a partnership, and that would be allowed. And there are even documents which is called heter iska, which if a person needs funds for a certain purpose, where somebody would give him the funds, would become partner, then that would definitely be allowed, as he would be benefiting as a partner from the profits of that business venture. So it's more of a business venture rather than a loan. Another mitzvah associated with the loans is if a person you gave a loan to is not able to pay you back, and he's genuinely in a dire situation where he's not able to pay back, you have to be careful. Lo tiyeh lo kenoshe. Do not dun him. Do not force, put extra pressure on him. You can ask for the payment of the loan back. He's supposed to pay you back. But if you come to the conclusion that he really does not have the funds to pay, and then you have an obligation not to embarrass him, not to come and keep forcing him and putting pressure. It would be even forbidden to go, back and forth in front of him to remind him and that if he doesn't have what to pay, and that would be applicable in many different situations when you become aware that borrower is just not in a position right now to pay back. And these are some of the mitzvot associated, and it's not just the person who's charging the interest who's at fault according to the Torah, it's also the person who pays the interest. And not only the person who pays the interest, could be even the scribe who wrote the document, or the witnesses that witnessed a loan where there is interest involved between 2 fellow Jews. And so it's not just the one who charges, the one who pays, the ones who's involved in the transactions, whether as witnesses or the scribe, everybody that would be involved would be also transgressing this commandment from the Torah. And it's a great mitzvah to help those in need, but to do it with no charging of interest. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen.